Hello, it's Dave again. Got another game here. It'll be an English opening. The ECO code will be A16. This game is played at playchess.com. The time is 10 minutes for each player. Our themes will be using pawns to limit your opponent's pieces, open files, and temple. So the game opened with, as I was playing white, with C4, knight to F6, G3, E6, bishop to G2, D5, C takes D5, knight takes D5, knight to C3, knight takes C3, B takes C3, and now C6. Black has accomplished his goal of trying to limit the scope of the G2 bishop by placing his pawns at C6 and E6. He controls the key D5 square. So if you look at the opening for Black, he's most probably very satisfied of how he's developed. The only problem he'll have that's really apparent is the scope of his C8 bishop, which is locked behind his two pawns, but this is something that he can work around by possibly playing maybe his pawn to B6 and of course pushing the pawn forward and bringing the bishop to B7. So it's nothing really to worry about, but it's just kind of something that you see right off the bat that his bishop is bad. White's next move is D4, knight to D7, development, E4. White gains space in the center with his pawns, and he's got a really nice pawn center, and he wants to maintain this. Black's next move is knight to F6, bishop to G5. I pin the knight to the queen. He plays bishop to E7, undoing the pin. I play knight to E2. Black castles, white castles. He plays H6, and I take bishop takes F6, bishop takes F6, and E5. What I've done now is with my pawns is with this E5 pawn, I've pretty well cut the board in two, and I will have pretty well have free reign on the king's side because I'll have the ability to move my pieces to the king's side and Black will not. He plays bishop to G5. I play H4, again using my pawns to limit the scope of the dark squared bishop. He retreats it to E7, and now I played knight to F4. He plays G5. He could have played the move F6, attacking the head of that pawn chain of mine, and play might have continued with knight to G6, rook to F7, and I could have pushed maybe this pawn to H5, being able to maintain this knight at the G6 square, be kind of a thorn in the side for Black to get rid of. Of course, Black could play bishop to D7 to E8 and then moving his rook, but he really doesn't have a whole lot of places to move the rook. He'd have to do a, because if he moves the rook back to F8, of course the knight could take it and I would win the exchange. So you can see by having my knight at G6, Black's position is very tied up. But let's get back to the game. After I had played knight to F4, Black responded with G5, attacking the knight, and I played H takes G5. He retakes with the bishop, and now I played knight to H5. He plays king to H8, and I played F4. Again, I'm using my pawns to control the scope of Black's pieces. Black again has to retreat this bishop to E7, and if you take a look, you can see that Black's got 1, 2, 3 pieces that really are not developed yet. His protection around the king is broken up, and I have a lot of control of the board with my pawns. White's next move is queen to G4, bringing the queen into play against the black king. He plays rook to G8, attacking the queen. I drop it back to H3, and now Black makes an error. He plays rook to G6. Black's best move would have been queen to F8, and the position you could say is pretty well equal after that. But Black made an error. He played rook to G6. He wanted to protect the H6 pawn, and now I played bishop to E4, attacking the rook, and forcing him to move the rook again. And this is where black loses his tempo, and I gain a tempo, which is a move. And I also bring the bishop into the attack against the king, so I've gained two things. I've got an extra piece in the attack, and I've gained a move. Now black played rook to g7, and now I played knight takes g7. In effect, this really wasn't the best move. The best move would have been, instead of taking the rook, I could have played knight to f6, and I would have been threatening to take with the queen at h6. He would have to block with his rook. I would take the rook with my queen, and it would have been mate. So here I was in a big hurry to win the exchange, and here I missed a good mating possibility. The next move, after I had played knight takes g7, winning the exchange, black retakes with his king, and now I play queen to g4 with check. Black plays king to h8, queen to h5, and now black brings his queen over to defend the h pawn with queen to f8. I play rook to f2. I want to use this half open h file by bringing my rook over, adding pressure to this h6 pawn. The next black's move is queen to g7, and I played queen to h3, protecting the g3 pawn. And now black makes the second error, and he plays h5. I quickly take the pawn with my queen with check. He plays king to g8, and now I play rook to h2. I've got complete control of the h file. I'll have the ability to move my king up, let's say to g2, bring my other rook over, and I would have all of my pieces into the attack. Black still has a rook and a bishop that's not developed yet. So in effect, I'm playing 4 pieces versus 2, and even his e7 bishop's really not in play. The next move of the game was f5 by black, and if someone thought, well, black could have, going back a move, win a pawn, and possibly two, by playing queen takes g3. Of course, white has the move rook to g2, pinning the queen to the king, and the game would have been over. But back to the game, after rook to h2, black played f5. I played e takes f6 and passant. Black plays bishop takes f6, and this is the losing move of the game. White will now mate. The best move would have been queen takes f6. And I would have mated also in this variation, but it would have been much longer. If you want, you can plug in this positions, put your chess computer to it, and you'll be able to find the mate very quickly. But anyway, back to the game. The move was bishop takes f6, and now white begins a very nice mating combination here. Plays queen to e8, and black plays queen to f8. In fact, in the game, this is after black had played queen to f8, he did resign. But just to show you how the game would end, it would have been bishop to h7 check, king to g7, queen to g6 check, king to h8, bishop to h8 check. Black would have had a block with the queen, and then rook takes h6 is mate. So that was the game. You can see how I used my pawns to push around black's pieces. I took advantage of opening the h file and developed my pieces. As you can see at the end of the game, I have all of my pieces except for my a1 rook in the game. I had 3 pieces versus 1 against black's king, and ultimately I made it. So I hope you enjoyed the game, and thank you very much.